The Healthcare Security Cast is sponsored by 3D Network Technology. www.3dnetworktechnology.com.
Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast, the podcast dedicated to healthcare security, safety, and emergency management. If you are involved with a healthcare security program or desire to be, this podcast is for you. Join the conversation as we discuss the issues that matter to healthcare security professionals while leveraging the expertise of healthcare security thought leaders and experts in personal development. And now, here's your host, Brine Hamilton.
Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast for Wednesday, March the 18th. I'm your host, Brine Hamilton, and thank you for joining us today. Normally at this point, I go through a number of announcements just talking about upcoming meetings and events in the healthcare security industry. As it stands right now, the fallout with the developments of the coronavirus has resulted in a lot of events being canceled, including ISC West and the IHSS AC&E being rescheduled. So at this time, there's no announcements. Obviously, a very turbulent time, and things are changing every day. I just want to say a thank you to all of the frontline workers, all of our security personnel, all of the nurses, everybody who's helping screen patients. Thank you for everything that you're doing. It's not lost on the people involved in the industry, and we appreciate all of your efforts. That being said, with all the challenges that we're facing, and just the lack of any sports to take your mind off of things, the Healthcare Security Cast has you covered. We'll be releasing a second episode this week, and we'll be releasing 2 episodes next week as well, so stay tuned for that. And now for today's conversation. Today's conversation is going to focus on personal development or personal effectiveness. We'll be talking with Diana YK Chan, who's going to be covering 2 topics. Essentially, she'll be talking to us about personal branding and personal development as well. Let's jump right into the content.
We're here today on the Healthcare Security Cast with Diana Chan. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for having me. We're in your office, so
yeah,
much appreciated.
Such a pleasure.
Now, I guess we'll start off with talking a little bit about you. Do you want to tell us who is Diana Chan, and if you don't mind sharing your story with us?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Diana YK Chan. I'm a career coach, speaker, and trainer, and founder at My Markability. I help mid-level professionals and senior-level executives in C-suite to help them design the next chapter of their life and career and navigate changes and help them differentiate their unique brand value so that they land amazing opportunities and increase their income.
All right. Now, you talked a little bit about branding there. So we hear this term of personal branding quite frequently these days. Now, what is personal branding and why is it so important? Yeah,
so the way I like to describe personal branding is really 3 things, who are you, right? And what you're known for, so your reputation, and what really differentiates you in terms of your unique value proposition. The reason why it's important is that because we're in a very competitive job market now these days, that it's so important to differentiate and to increase your markability, visibility, and credibility in order to get more opportunities. So the way I also like to think about personal branding, the analogy I like to use is think of an amazing wedding. Right? When you think of an amazing wedding, they have the core theme, everything, they have the branding colors and all the details. And it's kind of like that too. When you have a great brand, it's being more intentional with the way you want to show up in the world.
All right. Now you had mentioned the unique value proposition. So can you just kind of break that down a little bit for someone who may not understand exactly what that means?
What that means. Okay. So the unique value proposition. So it's the X factor, the so what of it. So when I do my one-on-one coaching with my clients, the first step is really you got to get to know yourself, right? So a few things is really knowing your strengths. What are you really good at? What do you naturally excel at? So that's 1. Number 2 is really understanding your core values of what's important to you, right? What do you really stand for? The next is your interests, which is what are you really passionate about, right? So that's just little bits of it, but that's already the essence of part of understanding who are you, what you enjoy, what you're great at, and throughout understanding your experience as well and your skill set is what really differentiates you. So the way the value proposition is what are the benefits of hiring you if an employer is working at hiring you, It's like, what are those benefits? So what of it? So oftentimes people would tell me, I have X years of experience. I have these skills. I worked at these companies. That's great. But you got to ask the so what of it. So the so what is really the value prop, is that I can help you do this better. I can help you save money. I could help you save time. I can help you get to market faster. Or I can help you mitigate risk. That's the value proposition.
Okay, so, sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah.
No, so once we understand, I guess, what that value proposition is that we have, and we understand what our personal brand is, how do we express that? How do we communicate that to people?
How to communicate that to people? That's a great one. So one of the things I always work on with all my clients is like mastering your story, which is really that elevator pitch, right? And so a big part of it is, in terms of communicating, is really sharing your story, sharing your message, sharing your ideas. Those are the ways to do it. So perhaps I'll walk through a framework that I teach on sharing your story. It's called the 6 P's framework that I teach my clients. So the first P is the passion. What are you passionate about? Right? When you talk about your passion, it sets the stage of what you care about, right? That theme there. The second P is the potential, which is really like, what are you good at? What are you known for? So this automatically gives people the sense of who you are. Most people don't really share about that when they talk about themselves. And then the next P is the past experience. And then the other one is proud accomplishment. So this is the credibility piece, right? Like, what have you done? What type of skills have you gained? What type of experience have you gained? The type of companies you worked at, the type of projects you worked at. I like to think of like those keywords that people would use in like functional areas, for example. So they'll help them think, oh, you've worked in these areas there. And the proud accomplishment is something more tangible, something more specific, a story that's unique to you that will help you stand out, right? A memorable story of your career highlight, and it helps people understand like what you care about. Then the next 2 P's is, once you talk about your past, you want to bring it back to your present. So where are you now in your life and career? Like, what are you looking for? What are you looking to achieve? What do you want? And the last P is the purpose, which is the why. Why do you want to make a change in your career? Or why do you want this? Why do you want to work at this company? And then ultimately, if someone's going for like a job interview, why you? Why do you believe you're the best fit for this role? So just even by intentionally thinking about those 6 P's, it will help you have more of those interesting conversations. So in a way, you are also promoting yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, how would you, how do you tie all that together to communicate that to somebody?
Like connecting all the dots. So this is where a lot of the self-discovery work comes in, of getting to know yourself. I find a lot of times people come to me, they tell me they struggle with that. So I would say the first step is obviously doing that discovery work, and then is identifying the patterns and themes. Like, what are those words that you want to use consistently to talk about you? Like, what are those key stories or examples that you always want to use over and over to highlight your brand? And then you just start writing, like putting those sentences together, like, I'm passionate about this, or I'm known for this. I have X years of experience in this. I'm really proud that I achieved this in my career. And so just writing that down, because you only really need 2 to 3 minutes to tell your story. It doesn't have to be long. It could just be sound bites of it. So just having these little sound bites that you can use at networking meetings or interviews, or in the workplace, like talking about things that you really care about, like asking questions, people will start remembering. So I'll give you an example. Before I started my business, like back in the day when I was working in the corporate world in telco, I was always known for the person who would go above and beyond and doing like recruiting work, mentoring work. I was always involved with campus recruiting. I was doing like lunch and learn sessions. I was helping people with their career development. So when I started my business 9 years ago, people already remembered me for Diana's the one who's passionate about helping people, developing people. And that's a reputation that you build that takes time to earn. But then that's where people start referring to, like, hey, you should contact Diana for career development, for your next job, for resume help there. So it's also through everyday actions of things that you can do to showcase your area of passion to build your brand. Okay.
So do you recommend that somebody have an elevator pitch, or just kind of have those talking points in mind, I guess?
Both, I would say. The elevator pitch is really helpful if someone is trying to pitch themselves for an opportunity. If you're looking for a job or you're trying to get a promotion, like having that ready is really helpful. But on a day-to-day basis, it's helpful to at least to have some of those sound bites of things that you are passionate about, you're interested in, that you want to talk more about, right? So that will help pique curiosity. That's what it is. The more you talk about it, people will be like, tell me more about that, right? So, and it's not about being, what's the word? I don't even know, like being salesy.
Yeah.
Per se, it's not what it is. It's really just sharing something that you care about. Even just personal. I'll give you an example. It doesn't have to be work related. So for example, I'm passionate about traveling outside. Like I'm really passionate about it. So if there's a place that I really enjoy, like I would tell my friends about it, and then everyone would want to be going to that place afterwards. Right?
Right.
So just things like that you can do. Like it's not about being salesy, but sharing something that you care about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm thinking more in terms of social media. We just discussed having those interactions. How else would you get your personal brand out there?
Okay. So there's the in-person way, right, of personal branding. And I think that what's important these days really right now is the online personal brand, right? Especially if you're in the space of like looking for opportunities. Like these days, over 90% of the recruiters look at your LinkedIn profile.
Right.
So I would start there. Like for those who are just starting out, you don't need to get on multiple platforms, but having a strong LinkedIn profile would really help. And what that means is having a great picture, that tagline of not just your job title, but in terms of your strengths and skills and your value add, that tagline piece. And then just even having a great bio, which is like the elevator pitch of your story of who you are. The key here is that you want to bring out your personality, make it shine, make it personable, make it warm and inviting. So it's not just like a robot talking, that it's dry content, that I have X years experience in this industry. Like everyone does that, like, or even, just a very short blurb. But if you make it more interesting, inspiring, it just piques curiosity that people will want to invite you to connect there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we understand what the personal brand is, what that value proposition is. How do we, I guess, taking it to the next step, how do we really manifest that unique personal brand?
So how to, I guess, create the personal brand? So first thing first, I mean, whether you know or not, we all have our own personal brand. I think that it's more around being intentional about how you want to manage your personal brand.
Right.
So it's going back to being strategic and intentional about it. Like even though you don't think you have one, but at the end of the day, we're all perceived a certain way by the outside world, right? So a few things, like I like to talk about from a creator designing personal brand, a few what I call my P's. The first one is really the product, which seeing yourself that you are the product, right? If you're trying to promote yourself to the job market, to an employer, to get more opportunities, the product is what are your core features, which is what are your strengths, what are your characteristics, what are your core interests and values, like really just understanding that first, right? Just doing an analysis on that. The second is really the P around, I call the potential, which is really like your strengths, your performance and results. So this is getting a bit more tangible, thinking about based on what you've achieved in your career, what are those tangible results that you are proud of, right? If you can have more of the tangible, it becomes more impressive as well. You're proud to promote yourself to an employer. The third P is the perception. So this is all about how you're perceived by others. So you can do like a perception survey, sending out to your friends, colleagues, people you worked with. Just send out like a survey and ask them things around like, what words would you use to describe me? How would you describe my leadership style? How would you describe my communication style? How do I add value to you? So just by asking those few questions, what will happen is by just sending it to 20 to 30 people, you'll identify certain themes or words that you want to use to describe you.
Okay.
And then what you want to see is that, does that align with what you're thinking of how you're trying to portray yourself? If it doesn't, you're going to have to do some fixing there, right?
Yeah.
And the next is really that positioning. So which is really about your unique value proposition. So this is the hard part because most people aren't really sure what their value prop is. And this is where you maybe need to really ask like your boss or ask your friends, like how do I really add value? How do I really make a difference? And that's going to take time, to identify, but just like really pointing that out, what's really the unique value proposition here. And the last P here is the packaging, which is really that how do you want to show up, how you want to present yourself in the world. So even thinking about like your own communication style, your dress style, like is it more formal or casual? What is that? Right? So those are the 5 Ps that you can walk through to help you assess and determine your brand. So when I first started out, just to give you an example, like idea here is, I did a whole word cloud exercise of like, what are all these words that describe me and how people see me? And one of the words that came through is passion and positivity that a lot of people consistently use. And so in how my part of my packaging or positioning, a lot of my communications, I tend to like to use words that are more empowering, positive, uplifting, or encouraging, like those type of words. So just by understanding that will help you identify your communication style as well. And in terms of part of my value prop is, I'm in the space of career development and job search. So a big part of my the value prop is helping people. Like, how do you differentiate? How do you stand out? So that's the angle that I like to take with a lot of my content that I share. Okay,
excellent. Now, the other thing I want to kind of transition and talk about a little bit is personal development. Now, how does our personal brand, is there a way that it will impact our personal development, or how do the two, I guess, work in concert?
Personal development, personal branding. So I'm a big believer in personal development. Like every year I like to invest in myself, whether it's taking an online course or going to like an in-person conference or like, something like the Tony Robbins. And my belief is every time I invest in myself that I become better in what I do. And so the way I look at it is the more you grow, it also helps with your brand grow as well. So what am I saying is the greater your brand, the greater your market value. So meaning when you work on your personal brand, it also helps you with how you perceive market value. And part of that is also that internal personal development work, right? So as an example, like I know that it's, say, if I invest in, like I say, a course around, let me just think here, around marketing, for example, a marketing type of course, and just learning strategies and tactics, I can then think about ways how I can better help market my clients better to get opportunities, right? Yeah. So they go hand in hand.
Okay, excellent. And obviously you do recommend investing in ourselves. It is really important. What are some of the most effective ways to leverage personal development opportunities? I know many of us have them through our workplaces, but I guess looking at that aspect of it through our workplace and I guess on our own as well.
Yeah. So I think in the workplace, the traditional ways would be what you could sign up for a course, like an online course, or maybe the companies could offer some courses that you could take, right? Those are things that you can ask the company to support. But I think something to think about, especially for those who are in career transition or looking to make a change, like, is there something else that you're really interested in that you want to learn further, for example? So as an example, I have a client who's in financial services, and he started becoming really interested in product management.
Okay.
And he decided to invest in a product development bootcamp to learn more about it. And he's going to take a course on like coding, Python, like all these things like throughout his discoveries there. So that's, something that's not maybe company sponsored, but if you're looking to make a change, those are things that you could take. Now, those are what I consider more technical or hard skill type of course, like you get the knowledge. But if there are things around, let's say you want to get promoted, become a manager, then investing in courses around, let's say, leadership development or communications or relationship management. Those are great for personal growth, but also help you become a better leader and a more effective communicator as well.
Excellent. Okay. Now, for those who don't have a ton of resources, so if we have limited or no financial resources to invest in our own personal development, do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, these days, there are tons of free resources. If you think of podcasts, there are thousands or millions of podcasts that you can listen to. So definitely check out podcasts. There are tons of career-related podcasts out there that I highly recommend. Google, like YouTube, looking at videos, there are tons. Like honestly, you put how-to, there's any video related to career, job search related, you can find tons of those. These days, I really enjoy using LinkedIn. It's the world's largest professional network. So it's also a great way to learn some practical tips that you can also apply into day-to-day life. My new thing recently is listening to Audible books. Yeah. Right? It's really cost effective as well. And there's actually a lot of free ones that you can listen to. So yeah.
Okay. Now, for yourself, what are you working on these days? I know you have lots of stuff on your YouTube channel. You talked extensively about LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I know you have a webinar that's available for anybody to watch.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing online?
Yeah, what I'm doing online. So I've actually been doing a lot more. This year, I really want to do more webinars. So I plan on doing one webinar a month. It used to be just like once a quarter or like twice a year. So this year, definitely I want to do more like webinars. Secondly, I definitely want to do more videos on YouTube and LinkedIn. So I paused for a little bit on YouTube, but I want to get back to more like a monthly basis as well. The other thing, other interesting where I'm growing in my business is I've been doing a lot of one-on-one coaching now, and I'm starting to, as my business is growing, as I want to do more group work as well, like group coaching. So we're using technology to do group coaching. And then my latest thing right now is in less than 2 months, I'm going to be running my first ever women's lecture retreat in Mexico to help people to rise to their next chapter and level. So I've really evolved from when I started as helping people with their job search to now really helping people think about the big picture of their life and career, of like, who are they, like really digging deep into their soul, what they want, and how to plan for that next like decade for themselves and their lives as well. So that's what's exciting in my world here.
Awesome. All right. Do you have anything in closing that you want to share as well, or any advice?
I would say, I mean, for those who, something I've noticing lately, I've been talking to a lot of people, is in that phase of that career transition where they've hit a career plateau, or feeling like stuck and not sure what to do next. And I really want to encourage people to really give yourself that space to take time to slow down and reflect. So instead of just rushing to go find that job or just rushing to complete the resume, I really want to encourage people just to take time to sit back and really look at the big picture of who am I, what's important to me, what do I really want, like what's the legacy that I want to leave in this world as well. And through that, like really connect the dots. Okay, what can I do to really achieve essentially like my desired life and career goals as well. So I know it can be scary because change is always hard at the beginning. And I feel like change is hard at the beginning, messy in the middle, but rewarding at the end. So that would be my final words, is really just taking that time to reflect, or even working with, someone or taking a course to help you that. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to create a retreat, is giving people that time to think, because we live in such a fast-paced, crazy changing world now that we're always go, 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 go. And we don't have enough time just to take that white space just to really think about, like, what do we really want and how am I actually going to get there?
Now, you have a really strong online brand and online presence, obviously. It's a big part of what you do. Mm-hmm. How can we connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So to learn more about me, you can visit my website at mymarkability. So it's www.mymarkability.com. Or you can also connect with me on LinkedIn at Diana YK Chan. So you can look that on Diana YK Chan there. Follow me or connect with me. Send me a note if you have heard this podcast. Let me know that you heard this, and I would love to connect with you as well there.
All right. And your YouTube channel, is that also Diana YK Chan? Or?
Oh, yes. My YouTube channel is My Markability.
My Markability.
Yeah, My Markability there. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
I do appreciate it a great deal, and I'm sure this is a lot of value for our audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And this concludes another episode of the Healthcare Security Cast. Thank you for joining us. Join us again later this week when we have a new guest and a new topic. In the meantime, feel free to engage with us on social media. We do have a LinkedIn group page, the Healthcare Security Cast community, as well as a Facebook group page. And feel free to connect with me directly as well. My name is Brine, B-R-I-N-E, Hamilton. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Also, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're actually uploading all the podcasts onto YouTube now as well. Thank you for supporting the podcast, and until next time, take care.